I got me a rock and roll band, it's a free-for-all.
What is up, freebies? Welcome back to the Free for All podcast, episode number 75. It's season 3, episode 10. MJ Baird here, along with the WFISD multimedia specialist, Mr. Chad Johnson, and the man who joins us over Microsoft Teams. We had him in studio last week. It was a treat, and now he's back over the internet connection. Coach Free, the Burnett CISD athletic director. What's going on?
Burn it, darn it.
Burn it. I told him I went and got a hat. I'm going to bring it next time I'm up there for MJ.
You sound like a robot, and it's not on purpose on my end. Let's try that again. Is that any better? Coach Free, talk to us again.
Talk to me again.
Even worse. Okay. Must be the connection. Anyway, we're going to continue on because I don't know how to fix that.
Just a little reverb. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't know. Can you hear yourself in the little reverb, Coach Free?
I don't know what reverb means, so yes.
You're echoing yourself, basically.
Awesome.
Not great. But we're going to power through. This is episode 75. Start thinking of 75s in the world of sports. But while you're thinking of that, I am going to thank our sponsor here on the show. You know who they are by now. Macaulay Landscapes. Proudly serving Wichita Falls for more than 2 decades now. Their services include lawn maintenance, landscaping, irrigation repair, and so much more. Visit them online, MacaulayLandscapes.com, or call the number on your screen, 940-632-5346. Patrick and his guys will got you covered. By the way, it is that time of year. Christmas light installation. Macaulay Landscapes can help you out with that as well. Go ahead, check them out, visit them, give them a call for all your lawn care, landscaping, irrigation, and Christmas light installation needs. All right, Chad Johnson, do you know of any 75s in the world of sports? It is an uncommon number.
Well, I cheated, and I just looked it up, and there are some legends, NFL legends with number 75. I'm going to see if Grant can guess any of them before I say my list here.
Okay, Coach Free, 75. Obviously, we're talking linemen here. Does anyone come to mind for you?
Tony Casillas.
Okay. He wasn't on my list, but that's a good one.
That's the only one I can think of.
All right, former Pittsburgh Steeler, North Texas State University grade, not
Mean Joe Green.
Mean Joe Green, Deacon
I like his game.
Jones, Deacon Jones, NFL on Fox host and Hall of Famer.
Howie Long.
Yep. Former Green Bay Packer coach, former SMU coach, Forrest Gregg, and Jonathan Ogden.
Ooh, Jonathan Ogden. That's good.
How about my guy from the New England Patriots, Mr. Vince Wilfork?
That's a good one, too.
Large man. Very large man.
So Mean Joe Green, Deacon Jones, Howie Long, Jonathan Ogden, and Forrest Gregg, all Hall of Fame football players.
And they all wore 75.
Yes.
That's a good number. Is Vince Wilfork a Hall of Famer?
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good.
Okay.
I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer.
I'll buy that.
He's in the Tony Casillas era, or realm.
This is really going to bug me. Can't stand hearing you like this. Coach Free, leave the meeting and come back, please. See if that
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. Well, you see, our viewers, our listeners, if they are listening in, and if you get 3 minutes in and you can't stand to hear what you're hearing, you're probably going to stop. So I'm hoping they made it to the 4-minute mark, and then when he comes back in here in a second, hopefully it's going to be all fixed.
So one thing I want to ask Grant about when he gets back that
Okay.
I'm going to bet MJ you have never seen. Have you ever seen the Mean Joe Green Coca-Cola commercial?
I don't think so. It's not ringing a bell by you
Maybe
saying
one
it.
of the most famous commercials featuring an athlete, maybe ever.
Okay.
In fact, they recreated it a few years ago with Troy. I think it was with Troy Polamalu. We'll see if Grant knows what we're talking about. You should pull it up on YouTube if
Yeah, I can do that. Let me get him back in here, and then, hi, Coach Free.
Hello.
Oh,
Much
so
better.
much better. I love it. Okay, Chad, ask him the question.
So, Grant, I was just telling MJ, do you remember arguably the best commercial featuring a professional athlete?
Mean Joe Green Coke commercial.
Yes.
It goes back to bad audio.
He's back to back audio.
Oh, we're just gonna go with it. Sorry,
That's what
folks.
I was telling. I told MJ he's probably never seen it or heard of it. They did recreate it a few years ago. I believe it was a Troy Polamalu.
Yeah.
But it's he's drinking a Coke, and a player walks up to him, or not a player, a kid walks up to him and just starts. I think he had a tough game or something.
Oh yeah, okay.
I know the kid's drinking a Coke. Well, the kid gives Mean Joe Green his Coke. Well, then he's walking off, and Mean Joe tosses him his jersey.
I have seen this now that you mention it.
And some really bad 1970s era music comes on.
Please, take him out.
Mr. Green? Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help?
Mm-mm.
I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay.
A Coke and a smile makes me feel good. Makes me feel nice.
I know my audio's jacked up, but it could be something with the team's meeting, just so y'all know, because I can't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a great commercial, a Coke commercial.
Awesome. I couldn't hear the theme song either. Normally I can at least hear you leading into it.
I don't know. Yeah, it's above my pay grade, unfortunately.
A lot of speculation too with Mean Joe Green. So when he went to North Texas, let's say they were North Texas State at the time, and they were the Eagles. Well, I guess they're still technically the Eagles, but they go by the Mean Green most of the time now. Well, Mean Joe Green played at North Texas, so a lot of it can't be a coincidence that they go by the Mean Green now.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Probably their most famous alum, other than
That's
Stone
not
Cold
as
Steve
bad.
Austin.
Oh, that's right. Stone Cold went to UNT as well.
Can you hear? Can you hear this, Coach Free? This is going to be just a music.
I can hear it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just changed a setting. Don't know if it's going to work, but rolling with it. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. If it doesn't work, then I'll switch it back later. Anyway.
Did you change the flux capacitor to the B setting?
No, C. It was
okay.
on B.
I got you.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of good 75s in the world of sports, including the aforementioned Mean Joe Green. Coach Free, what is new in Burnett CISD Athletics? The football team coming off a bye week, right?
Yeah, bye week. Go to Stephenville tomorrow to the new Arbrough Stadium to finish out our district and our regular season. Currently working on playoff matchups and sites. That's what I was actually doing this morning. But you know, our state cross country teams competed at state this last week, and our girls volleyball team got knocked out of the playoffs. And so we've had a good fall season. We'll finish that up with football. As long as they can play or as long as they can go, and then kind of start our winter sports are starting. That starts with basketball and swim and dive, and then carries us over into soccer.
So you brought up football, talking playoffs. Our folks at home are looking at the district standings. Your Burnett Bulldogs are locked into a playoff position. It'll be the 4th seed out of District 4, 4A Division 1. Any idea who the opponent might be for the Bulldogs?
It comes down to the San Angelo Lakeview Andrews game that we played Friday night. So if Andrews, we catch the winner of that game. So if Andrews wins, we play Andrews in San Angelo next Thursday at San Angelo Stadium. If San Angelo wins, we play Lakeview, to be determined. We don't know when, where, or why that game will happen. Well, we know why it'll happen, but we just don't know where.
Sure.
I offered up Joe Golding Field at Memorial Stadium, but if anybody wanted to make that 4-hour drive to come play a football game.
Not exactly neutral site? No, not quite.
Well, it'd be neutral.
It'd
be a long
neutral
ways
because
neutral.
it'd be 4 hours for both teams.
Okay,
yeah.
fair. Good point. Very out of the way neutral, though,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so we'll see. We we've already played Lakeview. We beat Lakeview at Lakeview this year, and I haven't seen Andrews. We've seen him on film, but haven't seen him. So again, we can come out of this Stephenville game healthy. We'll see what again, it comes down to matchups when you get in the playoffs. So
Definitely.
whatever happens, the numbers don't mean a lot. It's really what happens with the matchups or how you match up. And so we'll see what that looks like come next week.
Speaking of matchups, Chad, big matchup within the WFISD this week.
That's right. The Crosstown Showdown, playoff spots on the line for both teams. Memorial wins, they're in. No question there. I mean, it's simple for Memorial.
Yep.
If Legacy wins, Legacy needs Plainview to beat Wiley, which in this district anything can happen. I mean, Plainview beat Memorial and lost to Legacy. Wiley beat Legacy, and I can't remember. Did Memorial beat Legacy?
They haven't played yet.
No,
plays
I'm sorry.
Legacy.
Did Memorial beat Wiley? I can't remember on that one.
Yes.
Yes, Memorial beat Wiley. So, so this district is so on its ear from what we thought it was going to be that anything can happen. So basically, long story short, the team that wins tomorrow night is not necessarily done. Memorial is for sure in. Legacy potentially could be in. So,
Sure.
Which great turnaround for Legacy. Just the whole atmosphere on that campus is completely different. Still young, still got. I mean, their future is bright over the next couple of years, and I know Mark Bendel would tell you the same thing at Memorial. He's got some young kids that are playing dividends, but he's definitely more of a veteran laden team. So, but like I say, it'll be a fun night if you're watching here in Wichita Falls. Get your tickets, come out and watch it. The weather's going to be amazing. Let's fill that stadium up. It's a fun. I know Grant Freeman can tell you from being on the sidelines. I'm sure. I mean, that's a fun place to be when it's full.
Yeah, Coach Free, you were the AD last year for the Crosstown Showdown. What does this rivalry mean? I know you can speak on it.
Yeah, it's kind of new, different. You know, I was a long part of the Old High Rider rivalry, and I think that had its own. I think that was its own thing. I don't know that you're not there yet with this rivalry. So it's new. It's different. There are some, you know, obviously you now have a new coach on the Legacy side of it, but I was very impressed last year with one that even though like at the time Legacy was 0-9 and Memorial was the 2 seed, you know, that both teams came out and played really well. And then I was pleased to see the camaraderie at the end of last year's game. You know, coaches and kids kind of came together. That's not something that happened in the Old High Rider rivalry. I'll put it that way. But it was a really cool night. It was a really good thing, and it was a good start up to it. And we'll see kind of where they take it this year. It's just something that's totally different.
I got to say, from an atmosphere point, nothing about the game, but the end of the game, I mean, people still at least once a week say something about how cool it was. The fact that, you know, everybody was still hanging out on the field after the game and talking to each other. Now, that'll probably change as we get farther away from the splits in the schools and there's not as many kids that know each other. But there's still a lot of kids that do Young Life together and go to church together and hang out together and play youth sports together that I would love to see that continue, because that was a neat little part, just a neat little thing that just kind of organically happened. I'm sure the athletic director wanted him to get off the field so we could go home, but
he did.
But
but you know, again, I think that's the good part of sports, when you can go compete against each other and give everything you got, you know, for 40 minutes and then, you know, shake hands and be fine after the fact. I think that's what's the great part of sports. And so that was, you know, it was obviously a different flavor last year. But you know, I think it's something good going forward. And I think all those kids mainly the kids, I think those kids handled it in a really good way, and I hope they continue to do so.
I know you've talked about it in the past, Grant, with being at Old High as the Old High coach, the difference in the first game of the year and the last game of the year. And I think you've mentioned many times that last game of the year, you guys almost treated it like a pseudo playoff game. Well, this year it is a playoff game for both of these teams, which to me, I'm hoping that makes the atmosphere even bigger and has even more people coming out here, because there is a huge there are huge ramifications for both teams to win this game tomorrow night.
So kind of weird for me. I've experienced it in 3 different ways. When I first got there, it was in the middle of the year.
Right.
That I did not like that at all, just for the record. Then we moved it to the last game of the year, and each time both teams were, you know, in the playoffs, and or a couple of times it was for the 2 seed, and you know, it was essentially for the 1 or 2 seed in that district. So that was really intense. And then the last 2 years we played it at the very first game of the year. You know, in 22, when we were really good, it had a chance of being a really good game. You know, we didn't have all of our bullets in our gun. You know, that game, And so it kind of was kind of weird. But in the very last one was just we were at a different point as a program. Obviously I'd become the athletic director at that point. It was kind of just a weird kind of time there.
And with that first game of the year, you're still probably, I mean, I would assume kind of feeling out what you've got. I know you've had some scrimmages and some practices, but you're still kind of feeling out your team.
And it was different too. Like we couldn't have spring ball. They could. It was very different. It was just a different feel. I loved it last game of the year when we were both good teams
Me
going
too.
in. That was more fun than any playoff game.
Yeah, and to circle back to Chad's point, like, these two teams, and there's a lot of distractions all week long and crosstown showdown. But Chad, you're right. At the end of the day, like, someone's playing to continue their season.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what prevails over all else. So big game this week in the WFISD.
And here's the thing too. One more point on that.
Yeah.
That I thought was an interesting stat, and this goes to show you the program that was built and that he had built at Ryder. But Mark Bendel has never missed the playoffs as a head football coach.
Wow.
That's outstanding.
Wow.
So.
And that he's been a coach for 9.
I believe he became head
years?
coach in 2014, 2015,
11.
something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
this is his 11th year.
Wow.
I know he mentioned, so Scott Halfley became the athletic director in 2015, and I know Mark just mentioned to us that Kenny Catney hired him. Kenny Catney was the athletic director.
That's right.
So which Mark was the offensive coordinator when they played in the state semifinal in 2012, I think.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So the old time coaches will say, back in my day, only 2 teams made the playoffs. I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, making the playoffs is making the playoffs.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And so, you're in a
I
7-team district.
was proud of mine. 7 years and in 6 times.
Yes.
The only year was my first year we weren't in. Like I would take that. I was fired up with that, Mark. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
And it's all sports. It used to be easier to get in the playoffs in professional sports. There used to be no playoff in college football. So, I mean, it's, you don't ever, like they say, never apologize for a win, never apologize for a playoff berth.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. From high school to college football, Coach Free, the latest college football playoff projected 12-team bracket is out. And guess who's in? Notre Dame.
I don't know why you're shocked.
I'm not necessarily shocked. I'm more just looking forward to anticipating your reaction to such, because a lot of people online are outraged.
They should be, because again, it's not fair. Not that it's not fair. They play by a different set of rules than everybody else does that's affiliated with a conference, and their strength of schedule is not the same. And it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't necessarily disagree with it either. Large level thinking, though, and I know this is just projected. It's only the first rendition of this. Got a couple more of these to come out. What are your thoughts looking at this projected bracket?
The only thing that I was really, and I had said this to you guys last week, I really thought that it would go A&M 1, Indiana 2, Ohio State 3. So what this tells me, and again, we looked at this the last couple of years, and it totally changes by the time we get to the final draft of this.
Right.
What scares me, though, is it sets a precedent for what the committee thinks is important. By all markers and measures, the strength of schedule that A&M has played to be undefeated is far superior to Ohio State's and even Indiana's, for that
100%.
matter. And that's what scares me about going forward. Is they told us last year that strength of schedule was going to matter more so than they were going to take it into account more so. And if you look, they're not saying that with how they ranked them, with A&M and Indiana being 2 and 3, and then having Notre Dame in there as 10. They just, the strength of schedules are not matched up at all.
So Notre Dame has played 3 ranked teams and lost 2 of them. They lost to A&M by a point. There's no shame in losing to A&M, and they lost to Miami, which Miami has proven to maybe not be what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year, and then they beat USC. And I know USC is ranked, but USC is not a great team. So
the other problem with the A&M losses, it was at home.
Right. And to your point, I mean, they played Boston College last week. They're playing Navy this week. They have Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford left. So
Like
there's
come on.
We're talking about the 1-8 Boston College Eagles. We'll get to them a little bit later in the show. Coach Free, I'm going to pull that back up if I can. What do you think of, according to this projection, it's 2 Big 12 teams, which would mean a 2-loss Big 12 team getting in, maybe like a 2-loss Texas
not
Tech?
necessarily, because right
No,
now you've got
I disagree
BYU.
with-
BYU
yeah.
is undefeated and Tech has 1 loss, which they play this weekend. So let's say Tech beats BYU, then you've got 2 1-loss teams.
Well, one of them would win the Big 12 championship and be a
Okay, you're
2-loss
right.
team.
You're right.
And-
Okay,
and
you
they-
are right. For
again,
them to get, you are
projected.
correct. For them to get 2 teams in, one of them would have to be a 2-loss team.
And it's projected, but if you look at the little gold around the 7 next to BYU, this projection would be BYU's winning the Big 12, and then Tech is getting in.
I think if everything, and I know we talked about this earlier before the podcast. I think if everything plays out the way it should, I don't ever want to say a lock with the playoff, but I think the Big 12 is pretty close to a lock to having 2 teams in.
What do you think, Coach Free?
I disagree. I think here's what's going to play out. Unfortunately, I think obviously you're only going to have 2 teams in the SEC championship game and in the Big 10 championship game. I think those 4 teams are in. So in theory, that's Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, Alabama. In theory,
Right.
Okay.
The problem comes for the Big 12 is that if BYU or Texas Tech, whichever one, if they get to the end and they have 2 losses, I just see one of those teams in the SEC that's not playing in the championship game, jumping them like a Texas. If a Texas wins out, like an Oklahoma, if an Oklahoma wins out, I see them coming in to that second Big 12 spot. And the other one I'm worried about, or I can see knocking it or jumping out of there, is Virginia possibly.
Well, see, the Virginia right now, if you go back to that, Virginia's the only ACC team on that list, aren't they? So
They're projecting them to be the champion.
You're gonna obviously have to have an ACC champ, but I don't think there was another.
Oh yeah.
So the ACC is going to take 1 spot, obviously, and your group of 12
Yeah.
is going to take 1 spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see your point, but I also look. So here's the thing with Texas and Alabama both. Texas and Oklahoma both sitting there. Texas still has to play A&M. Oklahoma still has to play Alabama. So
Yep.
now you're talking about. I think that's where you start getting into what do their losses look like? How close are those games? That's
the frustrating. That's where the frustrating part comes. I think A&M's a lock, no matter what happens to
agree.
them.
unless
so
they
if
totally
Texas beats them,
wet the bed, which I don't see that happening.
Yeah, if Texas beats them, I think Texas is in, and the second Big 12 school's out.
And that's where that's where, because I think Alabama's pretty close to a lock at this point, even with 1 loss right now. That's where the Big 12 could be hurt. If you're a Big 12 fan, you're really probably hoping for A&M to beat Texas,
Right.
and Alabama to beat Oklahoma. Which Alabama should beat Oklahoma in Alabama. That Texas A&M game is always a toss up.
Right.
On paper, you would think A&M should be the favorite. I would guess it would probably be probably a 3 or 4 point favorite. Just guessing as they sit right now in
It's
Austin.
in Austin,
Yeah.
so.
So you're looking at let's use hypothetical, potential 3-loss Texas versus a 2-loss Texas Tech.
I think Texas has to beat A&M to get in. But I think it's a case of, like Grant said, if they beat A&M, I think they're a lock to get in. But I think they have to beat A&M to get in.
Okay, the other.
And I would say the same thing with Oklahoma over Alabama.
Right. So hypothetical 3-loss Oklahoma versus Tech. I think it's the same argument, so to speak, but that I think is the one we're coming down to ultimately.
I think what's scary is what the committee's kind of showed you.
Right.
Is they talked about strength of schedule mattering, and they didn't show that here.
Right.
But I do think, and I know this, I hate saying this because Chad and I talk about this a lot, but I think a 3-loss SEC team is better than a 2-loss Big 12 team.
And I don't disagree with that.
I think the committee will flip itself when it gets to the end.
So let me ask you this, and without looking at the Big 12 standings, I don't. So Tech has already got a Big 12 loss. Obviously, BYU doesn't. I don't. Without looking at it, I don't remember where Cincinnati is or Utah is. I know Utah's got at least one Big 12 loss because they lost to Tech.
Cincinnati lost to Utah last week.
Okay, so I think Utah might only have that one Tech loss. I think. Well, no, because they lost to BYU as well, so they've got 2 losses. I guess what my point is getting at here, if BYU beats Tech this week, Tech's got 2 losses. BYU's undefeated. If then those 2 teams meet in the Big 12 championship game and Tech beats an undefeated BYU team, they get the automatic bid. But I don't think you
and
leave
then BYU is in.
Right. Then I don't think you
that's
leave
the
a one-loss
scenario.
BYU out.
Yeah, I think that's the scenario. I think that's the difference in a 2-loss team. And,
Right.
and again, in all fairness, in a long way to get around to my point, I would take a 2-loss Big 12 team over a 2-loss Notre Dame team anytime. And the thing that ticks me off is that Notre Dame just sits in here and magically goes in and out,
Right.
just goes in because they're not in a conference, and it's not the same. A 2-loss Power 4 team should go in above them.
And I think your point proves not only with Notre Dame, although I think it's a little more black and white for schools like Texas and Oklahoma. You know, they can talk all they want about strength of schedule, all this kind of stuff, but let's be honest, they want brand names in there. That's the only reason we're even discussing Notre Dame. So that's where I think it does hurt schools like the Big 12 schools. I mean, if you're sitting there with a Utah and a Texas as an example, say for that last at-large spot, well, who's the committee going to want in there?
Texas.
Exactly. I mean, Texas would probably be the better team, but I don't even think that argument comes into play. They're going to want that Texas brand in there over a Utah or a Cincinnati.
Yeah, and that's the downfall of using a committee
Right.
instead of computer rankings or whatever. If you use the same criteria and just ranked them computer wise, and you had the conference champions in the group of 5, I don't think Notre Dame would be in.
I don't either.
Well, still a lot to play out, including the big game this weekend, College Game Day in Lubbock, as the Raiders host BYU.
Grant, you going to Lubbock this weekend for College Game Day?
No, sir.
You're going to have your burn it, darn it flag flying at the.
No, I should.
Do you guys see, speaking of the, group of 5 teams that's very good, North Texas has been playing really good football. Do you see what happened in the UNT Navy game?
Speaking of North Texas, real quick, Grant said this, and this is a little bit of my Oklahoma State bias and following. When we talked a few weeks ago about potential coach at Oklahoma State, Grant mentioned a name to look out for who wasn't real high on the list back then, Eric Morris, who is starting to gain a lot of steam in the Stillwater community pages for potentially being the next Oklahoma State coach.
They better go grab him because Arkansas and some of these other like bottom tier Auburn's going to have something to say about it.
Right.
I should have done it earlier.
Here's what happened to Coach Morris's Mean Green this week. Playing Navy, onside kick, surprise onside kick, with a fair catch and then a fair catch interference, and then Navy doesn't get the ball. I found this so interesting. Thought it was very high IQ. Maybe a mistake from Navy to not kick the ball off the ground first, to go straight up in the air and therefore make it fair catchable. But
I've seen that a couple of times on those little pop-up kicks like that, where the defensive guys. I mean, that's a smart play.
So not only that's 100% on the kicker. Not only is it that he popped it up, but actually it's one bounce. You have to have multiple bounces. If there's one bounce and it goes up, you can still fair catch it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Correct.
Interesting.
So is that something? I mean, are you coaching your guys that on an onside kick? Hey, if he pops it up, make sure you fair catch it.
If they pop it straight up, any pooch kick, we would call that a pooch and not an onside. So any pooch kick, we fair caught immediately.
And so the kid, the number 80 here that you're seeing, freshman for UNT is what I read. I just thought this was a very, very huge play. Referees officiated correct, which is huge. Navy thinks they got the ball, but this guy right here cannot hit number 80 because he signaled for the fair catch. I just thought it was very...
And I know this sounds crazy, but that's something we teach day one in high school.
Good.
Good. I mean, freshman, sophomore, whatever. Like he knows that from high school. I guarantee it.
So what is Navy thinking right there with that? Are they just thinking that the kid forgets to call for a fair catch? What's going through their minds when they decide, hey, this is what we're going to do right here?
You're not supposed to. It's on the kicker. The kicker kicked it wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's 100%. The kicker screwed up.
Because it looks like he's trying to pop it up like there. That was kind of my.
I know. That's what that's where they got screwed up. Like that shouldn't be a pooch kick at all by any means.
Yeah. In the heat of the moment where, like I could see very easily, neglecting to do that. So I just kudos to that young man who did that. And I always like to find those like cool little football things, high IQ football plays. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but that's why I'm not a football player.
My guy, Jared Mosley, the athletic director for North Texas, went shirt off during that game too, Oklahoma State style.
Oh, did he? Okay.
How about
Jared
that?
Mosley, former basketball player in the Lone Star Conference at Abilene Christian when I was in school.
There you go.
It's gaining steam. Although the Oklahoma State fans are telling, hey, if you have a good team, you keep your focus on the field. Let us keep our focus in the stands.
That's what happens when you don't have a good team.
Yeah.
Coach Free, the Dallas Cowboys, terrible, atrocious, 3-5-1, lose to the Arizona Cardinals Monday Night Football. Jerry Jones making a couple of trades, including getting this man from the New York Jets, all-pro defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. They also traded for Logan Wilson, the linebacker out of Cincinnati, but less cool to me than the Quinnen Williams edition. Where do you come down on what the Cowboys have done here in the last week?
So I think there's three buckets to talk about the Cowboys today. One is the Monday night game and where we're at in the season. And two is the trades. And then unfortunately, three is the news that came out today that Marcus Nealon passed away, Marcus Nealon playing his tail off like this year. So we can put those in three buckets, but the 3-5 Cowboys, 3-5-1 Cowboys, excuse me. We talked about this the other day and I kind of threw it out there that I'm worried about their offense. I think it's a lot of stat padding and games in which they're up quick. I just don't think I don't think they're this top 5 offense that everybody keeps talking about. And you saw that the other night. They didn't perform. And so when your defense is poor and you're relying on your offense to make everything into a track meet, the last couple of weeks, they haven't been able to do anything on offense. They didn't look good at all the last 2 weeks on offense. And so now you're talking about a 3-5-1 team that has no defensive identity, that also all of a sudden, it's kind of the truth is getting told about their offense not being elite, and they're a bad football team. And so then it takes you to the next bucket of the trades that happen. Mm-hmm. I can understand this, and I've said this on here multiple times. Our personnel and our scheme don't match up. Matt Eberflus is a cover 2 shell, like an old Tony Dungy Tampa 2 defense that requires things in the middle to be really good. So that's defensive tackles to be elite, inside linebackers to be elite, and safeties to be elite. Okay, the problem is that the personnel in which we had at the time were good edge rushers who can get after people and good corners who can play man. And so those things don't match up. So everybody's going one way or the other on the trade. At least they started identifying things that fit with the scheme of the defense.
So you're saying
that's the only thing I can at least say positive.
You're saying the Quinnen Williams edition works for what Eberflus is trying to do?
That and Logan Wilson. Now, again, granted, both players not playing really well this year. Logan Wilson can't get on the field on the worst defense, even worse defense than the Cowboys. So I'm not sure as far as quality of player, but at least they're addressing the issues that need to fit the scheme. Now, I don't understand why we're buyers at the trade deadline. I have no idea why we're buyers. That makes no sense to me at all.
Very fair.
But you're getting. I mean, I think you're buyers, yes, but it's kind of like a few years ago when the Rangers traded for Cole Hamels, and they were what a lot of people thought out of the race, but they traded for a Cole Hamels that had 2 years of control left, as well as trying to get back in the race. And I think this is kind of one of those trades as well. It's if it works out this year, great, but in their minds, they're seeing it as a guy as guys that have control for a couple of years. Now, I think that then goes back to what are the Cowboys doing? Are they playing for the future? Where are we going with this, I guess, is still the confusing point.
I think it's, again, I understand. I'm not as mad about the trades because at least they're trying to fit a Matt Eberflus scheme. Now they'll probably fire him at the end of the year, and then these again
Start
whatever.
all over
But-
again. Yeah.
But at least it makes schematic sense. I just don't understand why you're buyers at this point, because you're not. This team is barbecue chicken. Like they're not making the playoffs this year. They're going to be lucky to even get to the 6 games that I said they were going to get to.
Yep.
In the win column. Like they are not a good football team.
Nope.
And so really what you're looking at is, especially in this next stretch of really tough games, like why not just not go into tank mode, but why not improve your draft picks for next year, which you have 2 first rounders? Like it just doesn't
Not
make
anymore.
They
They still have 2 first rounders. They still have 2 first rounders this year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they traded the 27 one.
Sure.
So
sure,
like
sure. Yeah.
what I don't understand and what I cannot get through my head is how the ownership and or management and what's going on the field does not match up. Like it just doesn't make any theoretical sense, like practical sense at all.
So the way this is all being framed from a lot of things I've read is basically going all the way back to Micah and seeing what the Cowboys essentially got for Micah. So Coach Free, I'm going to lay it out. This is the best summary that I've seen, and I want to get your thoughts, right? So basically, it's a Sports Illustrated article. It says, Dallas essentially gave up Micah Parsons, Mozzie Smith, and a 2026 second-round pick for Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, a 26 first-round pick, and financial flexibility that accounts to about $70 million. What do you think of that?
And here's what's funny about that. The financial flexibility is actually not from Micah. It's not from Micah. If you just traded Micah and Quinnen straight up, over the next 2 years, Quinnen Williams makes more than what Micah would have under the contract he was under. So
okay, sorry.
Whatever.
The way that is framed, you're right. The way that $70 million framed, assuming you sign Micah to the long-term deal that the Packers did.
Correct.
That is a
Correct.
caveat.
So if you just played him out and played him chicken, he would have been under a lower. Anyway, so
sure. Yep.
If you're looking at the trade in that lens, again, you have to go back to what schematically you need. If this was Dan Quinn's defense, then it's an idiotic trade.
Okay.
If this is, and you're going to stick with this Matt Eberflus Tampa 2 style of defense, play everything in front of you. I'm not saying it's great for the fans. I'm not saying it's great long term, but at least it makes football sense.
Okay. Hey, you're my resident coach expert. I'll take it.
Hey, while we're talking football and you just mentioned Dan Quinn, I want to get y'all's opinions. I've read a lot of people criticizing Dan Quinn for the Jaden Williams injury, for being a blowout. Why was Jaden Daniels. So why? I mean, a lot of people questioning why was Jaden Daniels still in the game, and I even saw Quinn came out the other day and said that was 100% on him. I just kind of want to get y'all's thoughts on that. Do you blame the coach in that case for having Jaden Daniels still out there?
Yes.
MJ?
I
don't remember the score at the time, but they weren't coming back.
It's less about the score to me. Jaden Daniels had just missed 2 games, right? So he needs some reps, I guess, is one argument.
He's not a project.
No, he's not a project.
Anthony
but he's
Richardson
rust.
needs reps.
He's
Jaden
rusty.
Daniels needs to be healthy.
I mean, freak injury, I guess. It's not like he tore his ACL. He gets, and anything can happen. I don't know.
You know where he doesn't get injured? Standing on the sideline.
I don't know.
That's 100% on the coach. I'm sorry. Like that's.
And he took ownership
negligence.
in it. He point blank said Monday. He said I shouldn't have had him in the game. I mean, kind of the same hindsight 2020, but I shouldn't have still had him in the game.
I don't know. I mean,
I 100% agree. As a coach, if I do something stupid like that, that's on me.
okay. Well, I just said it. I'll say it again. You're my resident coach, so I respect the opinion.
And one more thing I wanted to get Grant's opinion on real quick. I don't know how much football you have left, but real quick before we wrap up the NFL. So we were talking earlier, trade deadline. Obviously, the MJ's Patriots are tearing it up. Well, I guess they wanted to make a trade for Tony Pollard with the Titans, former Cowboy, and the Titans nixed the deal because the owner does not like Mike Vrabel,
Allegedly.
who she fired. Like, I don't know. It's not like he left on his own volition. I I don't know. To me, why would you not want to improve your team just because of a vendetta that you have against a coach that you fired?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That does.
And I'm all about going and getting Tony Pollard, but you need a receiver.
That does take us to our quote of the week from the aforementioned Mike Vrabel, asked by reporters at a press conference how close they were to making a trade.
Deals are like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't. There's no like it's either a deal or it's not. So I don't know how close you can be.
Yeah, trades are like being pregnant. You are or you aren't.
Unless you're Jerry
I agree
Jones,
with
who
that. I
announced
like
the trade
that.
3 days before.
Weirdo. Jerry, that is. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I've never heard that comparison before. Another football related thing is it's actually our trademark segment this week. What are we doing? Always a very good question. And specifically, I did mention Bill O'Brien and the Boston College Eagles with a tremendous 1-8 record, I believe it is, in the very difficult ACC. Sarcasm all over this statement, by the way. He was asked...
Boston College at Oklahoma State, January 1st. Let's do it.
For the what bowl?
For the toilet bowl.
Toilet bowl, yeah.
Yes.
The Clorox Wonder Wipes bowl. Okay. Anyway, Bill O'Brien just fiery in his most recent press conference.
Coach, wondering, do you have a message for the fans? Obviously losing to Notre Dame Catholic school rival, 1-8 now in the season in BC. I've heard from a lot of fans. They're just really down.
I'm really glad. You know, I'm glad you're down. I'm not down. Nobody's down. We're fighting. We're competing. You know, it's the second year of this program, Mike. You always come in here with these down questions. Like you show up like once a month or something like that. You come in here with these down questions. I'm not down. I don't know what year you graduated from BC, but this is a program that we're building. Okay. Nobody here's down. We're positive. We're going to show up and play our asses off against SMU. You can go out there in your dark, clouded world or whatever it is and do what you want to do. We're not down. The sun is up, and we're fighting. That's my message to the fans. What's up, Trevor?
What's up, Trevor?
There is nothing I love more than coach rants. I'm just going to say that before we analyze it. I love coach rants.
They're funny. They're funny. My problem with this one specifically was I thought the question was very fair. What's your message to the fans when they see 1-8?
I don't think he was as mad at the question as he was with the person. It sounds like this person just kind of pops in and out and is always like, it doesn't sound like this is the consistent person that he talks to.
It's not a beat reporter. Yeah, it's definitely not a beat reporter. I don't know who the guy is. I looked him up on Twitter. He is a Boston College alum. It's in his Twitter profile. Maybe it's, TV guy who, admittedly being one, you can't show up to every team every week. So maybe he's on a schedule where he's BC here and he's BU there and then he's on hockey or whatever. I don't know his circumstances. But you're right. It sounds like maybe he was more upset, obviously, with his struggling football team, but with this guy in particular. But does that give you the right to rant on him for a fair question? I don't know. I don't think it does.
You are right, though, because that is your avenue to talk to your fans.
Yes.
And I feel like, while I enjoy rants, I feel like that's a great opportunity to. And I think what he said, he could have said what he said, but he could have wrapped it a little bit differently. Like, hey, I just want our fans to know that come out and support us. We're still fighting. We're still trying to win football games. I know it's not going the way we'd like it to go. You're still essentially saying the same thing. You're just saying it in a little bit different wrapper.
Let me say it this way. I don't disagree with anything that you guys are saying. However, I will defend him in this aspect. MJ, Tobin, Jonathan, Zach, all of those guys that I worked with, I would never, whatever question you asked, I would answer to the best of my ability, and I would never take that path.
Mm-hmm.
If Joe Blow, that covers us once every now and then, showed up and asked that question, I'm going to be, and that's the only, like if they show up at random times and I don't have a relationship with them, I'm going to maybe the first time answer it professionally. If it's just constantly where they pop in and out and they're negative towards my program, I'm going to react in that manner at some point because I don't have a it seems like they have an agenda and they're not around the program every day. They don't know what's going on in there. I'm going to react like that at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe the question is fair, but maybe that question is probably better coming from your day-to-day beat reporter.
Yeah, if it's coming from you, if it's coming from Jonathan, if it's coming from somebody else, the question is fair. I don't think he's upset at the question, and he might be. I don't know. I'm not speaking for Bill O'Brien.
Sure.
I just know in my aspect, the question part of it is fair. It's the person and the mode behind it. Obviously, this person is baiting him or trying to portray his program in a certain light, and he's not one of the normal people that's there every day in and out of the program. Because you guys know this, like turning a program around is hard. Like it is very, very hard. I watch it at different points. I was a part of it. It is incredibly hard, and your victories come where your victories in turning a program come in the Monday through Thursday piece of it. And you know who's not there Monday through Thursday for a lot of that? The media or the media who pops in and out. Sometimes you guys are there, more consistently, so you see the growth. But somebody like that's not going to. And so when all they do is paint your program in a negative light, and you're doing all that growing in the times that they don't see, it gets frustrating, and you're going to react like that. And now Bill O'Brien, totally different personality than me.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I would react at some point that way to that person.
That's
and another way you could handle it is roughly the same question was asked last year to Mike Gundy about what would his reaction to fans be, and he basically said that the Oklahoma State fans can't pay their own bills.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So, in case you're wondering why he's now former Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy.
One of the reasons. One of the reasons. All right, Coach Free, it's our I got the school bell. Hold on.
The Saved by the Bell theme song comes in every time in my head every time you play that.
Yeah, it's free tuition. It's Coach Free teaching us what we need to know about football and coaching and all that good stuff. Two-parter this week. First part, I was watching the Houston-Denver game over the weekend, and I'm paraphrasing here because I didn't rewind and catch the full quote, but Daryl Johnston was the color guy, the analyst for this game, and he was talking about the Denver defense, and he said something that I thought was very interesting. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said and I don't know which defensive end he was talking about, he's not blitzing necessarily to get to the quarterback. He's blitzing to force the offensive lineman to make a decision. What does that mean?
So,
and obviously you don't have context here, so I'm asking you to guess.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. So, different O-lines have different protections. It's just like different running plays. They'll protect a scheme differently. They might full slide, they might half slide, they might big on big, they might, combo it. They have a lot of different protections. And so one of the things that defenses will do is they will blitz just to get you into a certain protection. One of the things that used to kill us was two people coming from C gap into the slide. Anyways, like people will get your tendencies and they will blitz them to make you adjust to something that they get you out of your comfort zone, or to get the ball out quicker, or, to do different things. And so, yeah, it's kind of a cat and mouse game, just like you'll run blitz certain things against gap scheme or zone scheme guys. It's the same thing. If you watch, that's why a lot of quarterbacks and centers, they go all the way down to 1 second left on that play clock, is because they're trying to see as long as they can where they can call the perfect protection for the play they have, because they're trying to diagnose what the defense is doing, without showing what they're doing so quickly so that they can get the perfect protection.
I'm football for dummies over here, but when, as someone who never played, I think blitz, I'm like, your eyes are on the quarterback, and it sounds like that's not always the case. Like maybe you're trying to draw somebody so someone else can get to the quarterback.
No, you're just trying to a lot of times you're in blitz schemes, or even when you're twisting, when you're stunning, you're really just trying to take up an area so that another area is unaccounted for.
Sorry if that is all dumb questions, but that's just, I heard that and I'm like, What do you mean he's not trying to get to the quarterback? Isn't
No,
that what a
people did
blitz
it to
is?
us a lot. We would have to change up our stuff a lot. We would half slide, we would full slide, we would, combo it. So we always had to change based on what people would do to us. And it also, the depth of routes, how long, is this in layman's terms, a 5-step, 7-step drop, or is this a progressive, a down the field read? Like what,
Okay.
or is this a quick game? What is it?
Interesting. All right. And then part 2 of Free Tuition is a clip that Dan Orlovsky put on social media. I've said before, I love the way Dan breaks things down for the average person. And he went back into his quarterback archives, if you will, and pulled up some stuff from when he was playing. So it's a little bit of a longer video. It's like 2 minutes, but we're going to watch it. And then, Coach Frey, I want to get your reaction to this stuff. And this is stuff that Dan Orlovsky did with his quarterback coach when he was in the NFL.
And it's really about study habits and really the clarity of understanding play calls and why. And so this stuff, and I'm sure the coaches are doing this stuff now, but I love this stuff. So quarterback, okay, follow along with me, the protocol sheet, okay? So like at the top, it would say, what's the play? And it would be Cougar stick. So we would write the play, Cougar stick, and then the formation primarily out of empty, we'd have to answer. And then what's the drop or the play fake? Well, the drop was 3-step and then reset. What's the progression? We have to write out stick to shallow to the arches, which is a route to the under. What are your pre-snap thoughts? Your first wide vision for everybody, your first wide vision for a quarterback is break the huddle, I'm wide. I see the whole defense. What's the whole picture? What's my first wide vision on this specific play? And it would be like, all right, is there a guy who can take away the stick? Question mark. Is there pressure potential? And then key, what's your first narrow vision? My first narrow vision is like that very specific person and or area that would impact my first read. So my first narrow vision, who's taking away my stick? And then there's a notes section. I wrote blitz, think stick or the shallow cross. If the stick is bumped, really your shallow is your best bet. Quick scat protection, it's 4 down. It's a mic. We respot on 3 down. That'll be a double dual call. So this is those mechanics, those muscle memories. You go to another one, quote protocol. What's the play? Quick scat dragon stick, formation empty, drop 3-step, progression 1 high, 2 high rules, 1 high dragon, 2 high stick, pre-snap thoughts, first wide vision, that big picture, 1 high, 2 high. What's the coverage? Do I have a blitz problem? Throw into the pressure. My notes. Your short cross is treated just as your check down. So we would do this for every single play. It's my favorite stuff. Here's the vision stuff. First wide vision, play clock, offensive alignment, defensive alignment, pre-snap reads. First narrow vision, your key. Find the specific defensive player you're reading. Second wide vision, the area of the defense for the play call. Have awareness around both sides of your receivers that you're throwing to. Second narrow vision, finding your target and throwing to it. I mean, this stuff is so golden to me.
I love this stuff. Like we as a non-football player, we don't get this stuff, and just hearing a former player break it down. He still has the stuff from back when he was playing. Chad's going to pull up the clip of him running out of the back of the end zone.
I want to see him break down this play with his play sheet.
Yeah, so to answer your question with free tuition, so yes, we do this. He is more describing an install than a actual watching a game. So I'll tell you how it kind of goes and then how we adjust it. So we do this. We call it quarterback school. Now again, we were a very quarterback-driven offense. Spread. We put a lot on our quarterback. We were going to go as the quarterback went. So we did this. We were also, because of that, we had very successful quarterbacks. They had to think like what our offensive play caller and myself thought. So like when I was an OC, I specifically did quarterback academy and spent a lot of time with them. When I became a head coach, the offensive coordinator, did this with ours. Very similar thought. And that started in February leading into the year. So when we would begin to install, we would do something like that. Hey, we would talk about our first eyes out of it would be what's the roof? So the roof was how many safeties there are. So what if there's 2, what potential coverages can I get from 2 safety? What can they do from here? And then we worked it all the way down. And then, kind of in the same thing, but we installed our base concepts that way. Then basically very similar to what he did. What do their eyes say? Why is the play caller calling this play? What do you see? What does he see? What adjustments can be made? Who can potentially screw this up? What do we do? How is it different in this formation and this formation? So then what we do is the second step to that is whenever we grade film at the end of the night, say we have just played.
Yeah.
So we take the quarterbacks are, we do this with every position, but specifically more so with quarterback. It's a lot more in depth. Here's the play call. Here's the formation. Here's the down and distance. Here's where we are in the field. Here's what happened. Here's the play call. Did you execute the play call? We grade it. What happened? And then, then what happened? Just was it a positive play or not? So for example, say we had a long depth route progression called, did they, and the quarterback scrambled for 20 yards. Well, they probably wouldn't get a good execution because they probably screwed something up in that, but they would get a positive because they made a positive play.
Sure.
So yes, we got very in depth with the court without going into too much detail because, we're kind of up on time here, but yes, we did break down the position in that manner. We did it with every position, but we specifically spent, I would say, double, maybe to triple the amount of time with a quarterback. And that's where it becomes like the quarterback is, I think, and I will always say this, is the hardest position to play in sports, just because you have to have knowledge like a coach and then be able to play like a player.
I love that stuff. And I'm so glad to hear that it's happening at the high school level, because I just showed you a clip from a former NFL player. And even if it's not on the same scale, if it's close, like, that's outstanding. It's outstanding.
And I will tell you, and again, I felt like we were really good at it. I personally coached multiple all-state quarterbacks, but the reason in which the ones that I'm most proud of are like a John Ledesma or a Anthony Vargas, who weren't even JV quarterbacks the year before we got them and turned them into all-state quarterbacks. And that's why I believe in the process of what we did. It's really easy, and I'm not harping, but it's really easy when you get an unbelievable, like Bryson Villapando was easy to make a quarterback because he didn't do any of this. He just played football. But it's those kids like, Jacob Rodriguez is easy at quarterback because he's the best athlete on the field. Bryson was generally the best athlete on the field pretty much. But it's those kids in which Zy Gravitt, Anthony Vargas, John Ledesma, they weren't the best athlete on the field. So we had to treat them and make them a coach in their brain. And so their football IQ had to be super high. And so we had to teach them that, and they had to want to learn that. And I think that those are the things that you remember a lot of, like that's the ones that you look back at the end of that time and go, man, we did a good job there.
Good deal. There you go, folks. Thanks for coming. School bell, class out of session. You're free to go. All right, that's all the time we have this week on the Free for All podcast. I want to thank our sponsor, of course, our friends over at Macaulay Landscapes. You can visit them online, MacaulayLandscapes.com, or go ahead, give them a call, 940-632-5346. Patrick and his guys will get you all sorts of hooked up. Do us a favor, follow us on all the social medias. Here they are on your screen. Follow us on Facebook, the Free for All Pod, on YouTube at Free4All_pod. That same handle on social medias, including Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Chad, you got anything else this week?
No, I'm good.
Good deal. This has been episode 75 of the Free for All, if you can believe it. We're coming up on 125 more weeks, I guess. That's crazy to think. Season 3, episode number 10. Coach Free, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you joining us through Microsoft Teams from a busy day in Burnett, Texas. Oh, I said Texas wrong that time. I'm so thinking about Burnett.
Come on.
Burnett, Texas. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the Free for All.